City vote. Mamdani got just more than 50%, so difference of 8 points there.
Yeah, that's exactly right. But, Cuomo parses the numbers a bit differently. He told supporters on election night that those results mean that nearly half the city rejected Mamdani.
Almost half of New Yorkers did not vote to support a government agenda that makes promises that we know cannot be met.
So Cuomo and his allies had tried to make this a two-way race against Mamdani. But Curtis Sliwa, the longtime radio talk show host, remained on the Republican line, and he got about 7% of the vote. But for those doing math, the 42% from Cuomo and the 7% from Sliwa still wasn't enough to overcome Mamdani, even though some Cuomo supporters called Sliwa a spoiler.
Cuomo always governed as a moderate in Albany, and we just heard him say he believed Mamdani's platform can't happen. Is this clash between progressives and moderates in New York now settled?
Oh, I don't know if it'll ever be settled. But, supporters of Mamdani say that this should send a real clear signal as to where the party is going. State Senator Gustavo Rivera is from the Bronx. He backs Mamdani, and he says that Mamdani's success can show that Cuomo and other Democrats aren't doing nearly enough for working-class New Yorkers.
The implementation of it will be in a real way, how do we build a city government that actually serves those folks well and centers them? If that's not a lesson for the Democratic Party across the nation, not just in the state of New York, but across the nation, I don't know what the hell it is.
So Mamdani's already starting to hire for City Hall. He's already picking some steady hands to be on his transition team.
Jimmy, how do party leaders and moderates view things?
Well, there's actually quite a mix of sentiments. One person I spoke with is Assemblymember Rodneyse Bichotte-Hermelin. She's the chair of the Brooklyn Democratic Committee, and she supported Cuomo in the primary and then Mamdani in the general election. She said that Democratic leaders need to follow the will of the voters, and the voters have spoken in her party pretty clearly. And she also said that Andrew Cuomo lost not because of his ideology or his platform, but because he's him. He's Andrew Cuomo.
Cuomo has been writing on his father's name for years. And those very same Democrats who may have voted for him in the primary voted for him because of his dad.
A spokesperson for Cuomo wasn't happy with that. They called her words disappointing, and they pointed to the younger Cuomo's record in office, which included legalizing same-sex marriage. But other people I spoke to said that it was scandals, including the sexual harassment allegations in 2021 that drove Cuomo from office, that actually contributed to his demise. We should note that Cuomo denies wrongdoing on that front.
Yes. Jimmy, just a few seconds left. What's next for Andrew Cuomo? Is he done with running for office?
I would say never with Andrew Cuomo. He wouldn't answer questions to our colleagues at the party. But listening to his speech, it's clear that he feels he has a voice and he has a lane to contribute. Also, this is his life. This is what he does. He runs for elections. So I doubt we've heard the last of him.
That's WNYC's Jimmy Vielkind reporting for us this morning on former Governor Andrew Cuomo and the impact of this election on Tuesday. Thank you, Jimmy.
Thank you.
WNYC support comes from the New York Historical and its exhibition, The Gay Harlem Renaissance, which invites visitors to immerse themselves in Black LGBTQ+ life of the 1920s and 30s. More at nyhistory.org.
Let's do the numbers on flights, with the FAA ordering up some cancellations today at 40 airports.
Marketplace Morning Report is supported by Wealth Enhancement, providing its Wealth Blueprint, a plan that integrates retirement, investing, taxes, and estate planning into one plan. Learn more at wealthenhancement.com/blueprint. And by Palo Alto Networks. Palo Alto Networks delivers what's next in cybersecurity innovation to protect today's digital way of life. Learn more at paloaltonetworks.com.
I'm David Brancaccio in Los Angeles. The Transportation Department is, as of now, phasing in flight cancellations to ease strain on the air traffic system. This amid staff shortages caused by no pay for controllers, with the government still shut down. Looking at FlightAware's running tally, cancellations at Chicago O'Hare, Newark Liberty, Atlanta Hartsfield, Denver, Dallas, LAX, and San Francisco are all running cancellations so far at 3% as dawn breaks in the east. Phoenix Sky Harbor shows 4% cancellations. The goal is 4% today, rising to 10% by late next week if the government stays closed. Here's Marketplace's Nova Safo.
Airlines have a scheduling mess on their hands, and an unprecedented one, says Ahmed Abdelghani of Embry-Riddle Aeronautical University.
It's multiple airlines, multiple airports.
Unlike, say, a storm or a computer outage, this time all carriers across the country have to adjust.
Eventually, airlines will not be able to fly some of their flights, and eventually they have to refund passengers because passengers will not be able to travel in some markets.
Indications are that airlines are focusing on trimming shorter regional routes first, and Rebecca Hopp, director of the airport in Boise, Idaho, is preparing.
Many of the airports that we have connections to are on the list, but our hope would be that people are aware of potential flight changes before they get to the airport.
Some travelers might opt for ground transportation instead, or might cancel their plans altogether.
It will obviously mean lower revenue for airlines.
Neville Taneja, professor emeritus at Ohio State University, is a longtime airline industry advisor. He says airlines might try to make up for that lost business by charging more on other routes where they can.
As far as the consumers are concerned, yes, the prices are likely to go up.
So pain ahead for both passengers and airlines. How much pain? Depends on how long the disruptions last. I'm Nova Safo for Marketplace.
Let's do the numbers. Sounds like down. Yes, indeed. Futures are pointing down. Minus 0.4% for S&P futures. NASDAQ futures are down 0.5%.
Marketplace Morning Report is supported by Progressive Insurance, offering small business owners protection for what they've worked hard to build with over 30 customizable coverages. Learn more at progressivecommercial.com. And by Yubico, makers of the YubiKey. YubiKey helps protect important digital applications and services. YubiKey, still undefeated, the original passkey. More at yubico.com.
It was an enduring workplace tradition. When the manager gets tense, they declare a little emergency and expect you to snap to attention regardless of time, day, or what you're doing at the moment. That's why they are the boss of you. But we're picking up a shift in the wind on these common declarations of workplace red alerts. The Washington Post had a piece the other day suggesting Gen Z workers may not be so ready to pull U-turns if a hyperventilating memo arrives. In such matters, it's good to bring in Adam Grant, an organizational psychologist at the University of Pennsylvania's Wharton School. He's also host of the podcast Rethinking. Adam, welcome back.
Thanks, David. Great to be here.
Do you see a pushback to this need to respond to whatever's deemed an emergency?
I do. I'm hearing this consistently from my students at Wharton, and it's something I've been seeing in a lot of workplaces. People saying, look, your emergency isn't necessarily my problem, especially if it's not in my job description.
Oh, especially if it's not in my job description, waiving the job description. That used to be a fatal career move back when I was a lad.
Deadly back in the day. And, now it's a question of who has power. Is it employers in a world where it's increasingly difficult to find a job? Or is it employees who can embarrass you on social media?
How does a grown-up thinking about good management think about both declaring workplace emergencies if you're a manager and responding to commands marked urgent with all these exclamation points? Like what's best practice?
Look, David, my first advice to leaders and managers is just take a step back and ask, what are the problems that could have a severe and lasting impact on our workplace if they're not addressed immediately? And if I know what those are, it's a lot easier to save urgent emergency for when there actually is something of consequence. I think in the moment then, the next thing you do is you let people know not just that the issue needs to be handled, but also why it's important. And I think if you just stop to take the time to explain, hey, this is why this is an urgent issue, you find that people are much more reasonable in response.
I remember exactly where I saw this and when. It was 1986 in the newsroom of Channel 5 TV in San Francisco. A news editor had a printed sign above his edit station in bold. Notice, lack of planning on your part does not constitute an automatic emergency on my part. That's nearly 40 years ago. People have been resentful of people reaching in and overturning your workday for a very long time.
Yeah, I think that's true. I think one of the things that we ought to be doing is being a little bit clearer about what the expected time frame is for a response. So your urgent, all hands on deck now message is a lot more legitimate. If your other emails say, no rush on this, would be great to hear back from you by the end of the week, or would be very helpful to get an answer in 48 hours. And if we were just a little bit clearer about our expectations, I think when we really need people to step up, they would be more willing to do it.
Adam Grad at the University of Pennsylvania's Wharton School. His latest book is entitled Hidden Potential, The Science of Achieving Greater Things. Thank you so much.
Always a pleasure. Thanks, David.
Dear listener, I know you're out there. What is your view on snapping to attention whenever the red alert sounder hits at work? We want to hear your stories and views, bosses, minions, everyone in between. I say minions with affection and respect. There's a place to share your stories on our main page. Go to marketplace.org and you should see it. In Los Angeles, I'm David Brancaccio. It's the Marketplace Morning Report. You're from APM, American Public Media.
WNYC receives support from David Auburn's Proof on Broadway, starring Iowa Debris and Don Cheadle in their Broadway debuts, also starring Jin Ha and Samira Wiley.